David Anderson was born into unimaginable wealth. As the only heir to the Anderson family fortune, his future had already been written. He was expected to inherit a billion-dollar empire built over generations, luxury hotels, technology companies, commercial real estate, and international investments. Every board member admired him. Every business magazine called him the future of American business. But David wanted something money couldn't buy. He wanted love. When he met Ava, everything changed. She didn't care about private jets or family wealth. She saw the man behind the expensive suits and corporate headlines. For the first time in his life, David felt truly seen. Against his family's wishes, David resigned from the company. He walked out of the executive boardroom, removed the Anderson family signet ring that had been passed from father to son for generations, and left behind the empire waiting for him. Together, David and Ava built a quiet life. Years later, they welcomed a beautiful daughter named Lily. They weren't the richest family anymore, but they were happy, or so they believed. One rainy evening, David returned home to silence. The front door was open. Furniture was overturned. Broken glass covered the floor. A phone vibrated on the kitchen counter. A distorted voice answered. "We have your wife and daughter." David's heart stopped. "You have one choice," the voice continued. "Give yourself to us, and they live." Without calling the police, without asking questions, David agreed. The exchange took place at an abandoned warehouse outside the city. David watched Ava and Lily, frightened but alive. He smiled through tears. "I love you both." Then he stepped forward. The kidnappers released his family. David surrendered himself. No one knew where he was taken. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Months became years. For 3 long years, David lived in darkness. He endured isolation, hunger, beatings, and endless psychological torment. Every sunrise felt the same because he could never see it. The only thing that kept him alive was the hope that somewhere Ava and Lily were safe. Then, unexpectedly, he was released. No explanation, no ransom, no revenge, just freedom. David returned home with scars no one could see. He imagined the reunion every day during captivity. He pictured Ava running into his arms. He imagined Lily calling him Dad. Reality was far different. Standing outside his former home, David looked through the living room window. Inside, Ava laughed beside another man. It was Marcus, the man she had dated years before meeting David. David stood frozen. When Ava finally noticed him, her smile disappeared. She opened the door slowly. Neither of them spoke. Their silence said everything. Later that evening, David tried to reconnect with Lily. She'd grown from a little girl into a teenager. She barely recognized the father who had sacrificed everything for her. She looked at him with uncertainty instead of love. "I don't really know you anymore," she whispered. Those words hurt more than 3 years of captivity. David quietly walked away. That night, he cried for the first time. Not because of the kidnappers, not because of the pain, but because the family he saved no longer belonged to him. The following week, David received an unexpected visit. It was the chairman of Anderson Global Holdings. "We've waited long enough," the elderly executive said. "The company needs its rightful leader." David hesitated. The empire he had abandoned had continued without him, but corruption had quietly spread through its leadership. Profits had fallen, trusted executives had become greedy, employees feared for the future. David finally accepted. The day he entered headquarters, hundreds of employees stood in silence. Then, one by one, they applauded. Board members rose from their seats as David entered the executive conference room. For the first time in years, he wore the Anderson signet ring again, not as a symbol of wealth, but as a reminder of everything it had cost him. Over the next several years, David transformed the company. He removed corrupt executives, raised employee wages, expanded scholarships for underprivileged students, built hospitals in underserved communities, created foundations for families of kidnapping victims. The empire no longer existed to create billionaires. It existed to change lives. David never sought revenge against Ava. He never tried to win her back. He understood that grief changes people. Some relationships survive tragedy, others become casualties of it. One autumn afternoon, David stood alone on the rooftop of Anderson Tower overlooking the city. The same skyline he had walked away from years before. Only now, he wasn't looking backward. He was looking forward. His past had broken him. His pain had reshaped his sacrifice, had defined him. But it would never control him again. As the sun rose over the city, David smiled, not because life had been fair, but because he had found peace without bitterness. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't getting back what you lost. It's becoming someone stronger because you survived.